here's the big question. You're interested in value investing and valuing and evaluating businesses on a deep level, but you don't know how, even after researching for hours, probably dozens of hours, hundreds of hours on the internet, and because nobody else shows you how to do it. This podcast has all those answers and much more about value investing in finance. My name is Jason Rivera. Welcome to Value Investing in Your Car. Hey, Jason here. In today's episode of Value Investing in Your Car, we're going to talk about the fourth and probably last in this little mini series within this series of the most useless investing terms and topics and metrics. We've already talked about PE, why it's useless. We've already talked about beta, why it's useless. We've talked about goodwill and why it's 99.9% of the time useless. And today we're going to talk about another term, synergy, that is, again, 99.9% of the time, anytime you see it in a financial statement in terms of an acquisition, is useless. So before we get into that, what is synergy, kind of from a finance investment perspective? Synergy is a term thrown out there by typically it's when used when one company is acquiring another company. They talk about synergies of the two business units coming together, and pretty much the sum will be greater than the individual parts. Because these two businesses are now aligned, profits will grow, revenues will grow, everything will work out perfectly, and we're going to see a XYZ growth rate in our revenue and profits. Sounds great, right? Yeah, but it never works. 99.9% of the time you see an acquisition or merger or whatever they term it as one of the main reasons is because of the synergies. You need to look deeper into that potential investment or possibly even steer completely away from it, because 99.9% of the time it's crap. Not only is it crap, but because of these synergies, most of the time the acquiring company pays even a higher premium than they normally would have to, because they think these synergies will offset the extra value. They think it will add more value onto the overall company. Again, grow profits, grow revenues, that kind of thing. Why doesn't this happen most of the time? And why do I deem this term as 99.9% of the time completely useless? Because mergers and acquisitions is extremely hard to do well. Mergers happen all the time, acquisitions happen all the time, but I would say in my experience, and I don't deal a lot in this arena, I mostly buy smaller companies that get acquired by bigger companies. But just my experience of the last 11 years looking at thousands of companies, dozens of, not hundreds of business models, countries from all over the world, I've dealt with acquisitions on a pretty regular basis. So while this isn't my necessarily realm of expertise, I do know a lot about this arena due, again, to my experience and also reading a lot of financial history books. Acquisitions most of the time do not work is because each company has its own different cultures and expectations and processes, and it's hard to change those things within an acquired company just because you bought them out. It's hard to get people who don't know you to trust you. It's hard to get people who don't trust you and don't know you to do what you're telling them to do if you bought out their company, their beloved company, even if they didn't love the company that they were working for. It still provided them security for their family, job and upskilling, career advancement, security, all these kind of things. So just because you buy somebody out, they still are loyal to kind of the old ways that they were doing at their company. People don't necessarily like change for the most part, so it's hard to get over those things. People are automatically, a lot of the times, biased against any kind of change, even if it can positively affect them. Because most people view change as scary. The unknown is scary. So getting over these kind of things, I would estimate probably less than 20% of acquisitions actually add value over the long term to whoever acquires them. let me back up. Add significant value to the company that acquires them. Why do I say that? Again, experience, history, and reading a lot of history, financial history. That's kind of just I don't have any data to back it up. That's more just anecdotal, kind of off my thoughts. But those are some of the reasons why most acquisitions don't work. Another reason acquisitions don't work is because they're done for the wrong reasons. If a company is acquiring another company because of the synergies, I can almost guarantee if that is one of their main reasons for acquiring another company is because of the synergies, that is going to be a horrible acquisition. There should be legitimate economic rationale for acquiring another company, not speculation on what could happen if everything goes well. If the acquiring company is only saying the good things that could come out of this, again, that's another sign that it's probably going to be a terrible acquisition. So, what are I said 99.9% of the time, synergy is useless as well. What about in the 0.1% of time? There are occasions where synergies do make sense. If, for example, one of the companies I own, and I've owned for a long time, they are in the plastic molding arena, in the manufacturing arena for heavy trucks. They have acquired, they've done several what are called bolt-on acquisitions. Bolt-on acquisitions are not necessarily huge acquisitions in most cases. They're smaller typically, and they add like a complementary piece to the puzzle of the company. For example, I think if I remember correctly, this company is it's in the making parts for truck engines in like the medium and heavy trucking industry. So they acquired, and they do that with plastics. If I remember correctly, and some of the details might be slightly off, is that they acquired another company who's making slightly different parts than them, but could go in the same engines for the same trucks. That is where that kind of situation is where synergies can actually benefit and be produce real world benefits. And that in those kinds of situations, if I'm just throwing this example out there, but if an insurance company buys a movie theater company and they talk about synergies because they can sell ads, this is just an example off the top of my head, because they can sell more ads to people who go to the movie theaters, that's going to be most likely a terrible acquisition. Again, 99.9% of the time synergies are completely useless. The term synergy is completely useless. It doesn't make any real world economic sense, leads to higher paid premiums on the acquisition, and leads to doing an acquisition for the wrong reasons, stuff like that. In the 0.1% of the time acquisitions work, it's very closely related, generally very closely related industry or product or service that the acquiring company is already looking to kind of expand kind of slowly out to. Those are the kind of situations that make sense in terms of the word synergy and the real world use of the word synergy. So now we've talked about PE being useless. PE and beta are completely useless in my opinion 100% of the time. Goodwill, 99.9% of the time useless. Synergy, 99.9% of the time useless. I'd love to hear your thoughts about these topics in the comments below. If you haven't watched the other videos where I talk about the useless investing metrics and terms, they are in the playlist to the right, left, below, depending on where you're watching this. The other value investing in your car episodes have these kind of, again, the series, this little mini series within the series of this value investing journey episodes. We also have playlists on case studies, value investing and finance education, preliminary analysis, what else? Financial literacy. We're gonna be doing that. So if you want to watch our other playlists, make sure to do that right, left, below. And make sure, again, if you have comments on any of these, you think I'm an idiot for calling these kinds of things useless, you think I'm missing something, let me know in the comments below. I want to have a constructive conversation, and so we can all learn. If you like this video, make sure to like it and share it. And if you like all of our other videos, if you watch some of our other videos before, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified anytime we release a new video. Our next kind of mini series within the series, and I'm not sure quite when we're going to do this, but next up I'm going to talk, or not next up, but at some time soon, I'm going to talk about if I could only use 3 investing metrics out of all the investing metrics in the world, hundreds I would guess, what are the 3 metrics I would rely on a regular basis? If I could only use 3, what are the top 3 metrics I would rely on if I could only rely on 3? That's going to be kind of another series within this mini series. Again, I'm not quite sure when we're going to do it, but if you have any thoughts on that, let me know below as well. I might incorporate some of that into those future videos. But until then, I will keep making these value investing in your car episodes, talking about book reviews, value investing in finance, all the other stuff we've talked about, and until we get to that series. Thanks again, and I'll talk to you again soon.